It's a really great little webinar I want to share with you tonight. There's a few pearls in here that are really going to help you. And especially for those of you that may have teams, especially if you're looking at actually how to re-engage as we come out the other side of this, and more importantly, get the team refocused and focused on what's important in your business. And what's important in your business is obviously servicing your clients and maximizing that service opportunity. So it's a couple minutes past, so I'd like to get started if that's okay with everybody. Oh, excuse me. Let's have a bit more of that water. Okay. So with that, I'm just going to jump in and share my screen, and I'll move to a different position on your screens. Just behind my camera, that icon. Okay. So let me show you and introduce you to my favorite and a really fantastic program that we've been running now for quite a while. And it's called Spendsuasion. It's obviously a play on words, and what we mean by that, it's a very simple way to help your clients spend more, but through the art of persuasion, not through the art of push, pressure, or any of those types of things. And what I want to share with you tonight is a couple of really, I'm just going to move my camera around, a couple of secrets that will really help you and also your team as well. So we're going to run for about 45 minutes, but I'll cover quite a bit and give you some really good value and some good information for you to go back and, well, have a chat with your team. First and foremost, isn't it amazing how we always find younger photographs of ourselves when we put them online? So yes, but anyway, not to worry. For those of you who weren't on any of my previous calls, look, these are some of the companies that we've had the pleasure of working with over the last 7 years. Most of them, I think most of the brands that you would know, we either work for those companies and help the sales team, or more importantly, their clients. And we do quite a few different, and I do quite a few different business seminars. The program I want to show you tonight, though, is a program that I developed about 2 years ago when I was approached by some rather large groups and franchises in the laser hair removal business. And a few of those logos are on the screen. And for about 2 years, we ran this particular program, and we had over 1,200 girls go through the program. And the results were really, I have to say in the most humble way possible, but really exciting. They were just blowing it out of the sky. We had young girls going from not being able to engage with clients, feeling a bit shy, or, feeling that even sometimes clients were coming in, they were trying to run the appointment rather than the therapist, to actually almost a complete reversal. And said really, really good results. And we also measured those results as well, and I'll share some of those outcomes with you again tonight. But tonight's not about me. What I want to talk to you about tonight is about you and some of the challenges that you face in your day-to-day work, working in either a skin or hairdressing salon. Either one, we're going to call them salons tonight, be it clinics, be it day spas, be it whatever business you're in. We are all in the same communication style, and that is that we interact with clients on a one-to-one basis. And our goal is to, well, my words are, we really need to aspire to help clients discover what it is they need versus what they think they want. And that gap is a tremendous dollar gap when we look at that and have a look at our clients, and more importantly, what we are doing to support and service them. So that's the tone and the direction that I want to take you in tonight, and show you some of the successes that we've had in this space. Because as we come back into the new world, we're really going to need to focus on this. The particular program that I'm putting together for you tonight is designed for anyone in the hair, beauty, or aesthetic industry. You're a practice manager, a clinician, clinic, or a salon owner. For the ease of our conversation tonight, I'm going to use the generic term of salon, but it encompasses all of those, because I work across all of those different styles of businesses, either as a performance-based trainer, which means I'm training your team, or as a mentor and as a high performance coach, or that means I'm working with you. They're the two specific areas that I work in. So just to help you have some clarity around that. The 5 skills and the 5 areas that I focus on when I work with clients, and in our space, I call this B to C, so business to client or business to consumer. Traditionally, whether you're a hairdresser or whether you're a clinician, whether you're a nurse, regardless of where you live, but if you're client facing within any of our industries, hair, beauty, body, or aesthetic, there are 5 really important skills you need to learn and that you need to master. Because really there are, a set of 3 skills. There is your qualifications that you've worked hard to achieve. There is your experience that you've built and developed, whether it be only a short time or whether it be over many, many, many years. But they're your 2 base skills. But what I find today, it's the 3rd skill that truly helps people be far more successful in the way that they discuss, recommend, and engage with clients. And that 3rd skill is their ability to persuade. That's right. Their ability to recommend and their ability to have clients accept that. That, for me, can be a 20 to 30% difference in your average client spend. And I've seen it many times and I measure it frequently. And it comes down to these 5 terms. And I'm sure you know of them. I choose different words these days, and I'll take you through some of those. But we don't call it an upsell anymore, or we call it an upgrade. And I actually teach you and show you how to upgrade a client. There's a particular set of words to use, and when you use them, it's really attractive. The cross-sell is by far the hardest that most people find, and that is to go from one treatment category to another treatment category. So if we're in the laser business, that may be, hair removal. Say we're doing a half leg and we want to introduce injectables or a skin consult to a client. I mean, that's a large gap. And most therapists I work with struggle to work out how to do that. There's 3 simple steps and you can introduce a different treatment category to any client. In hairdressing, that can be from going from a T-section in color to actually introducing treatments, or even retail. These are all cross-sells in the language that we talk, even though today I'll teach you different languages. Rebooking, the lifeblood of every business. I don't know if there's anything more disheartening than looking at your appointment book and not having it full of future appointments. Retention, this I think is really critical, and especially today, and especially as we come out of this COVID scenario, retention and client retention by your staff is going to be critical, and you really need to monitor that per staff member. Then the final is retail. And this is an area that just produces tremendous opportunity for us. And again, I want to talk to you about that tonight. One thing I want to get really clear though, right at the get-go with retail is I monitor Australia Post, excuse me, Australia Post, and also the ANZ. Is it ANZ? Anyway, one of those 2 banks, and I'll give you some more details on that data. Sorry, let me do that again. It's Australia Post and it's the NAB. And both of those companies monitor the percentage of overall retail sales that are done either online or in bricks and mortar in shops. Now, pre-COVID, because this may have changed slightly, but it won't have changed that much once we come out the other side, but it will shock you. We are yet to break 10% of total sales online. 90% of retail business is still done at the shop front in this country, in Australia. I can only speak for Australia. So my question to you, when your staff say, oh, no, she's not going to buy retail, she's buying it online, I'm going like, whoa, stop, she's not. We need to focus on the 90% of clients that are open to accelerating their skin or accelerating their results at home, be it hair, be it treatments, be it skin, whatever it is. There is a huge opportunity. Now, when I talk to therapists, what I tend to find is they tend to fall into one of 2 groups when we break down and talk about these skill sets. The first group is I find it really easy to do. I can navigate all of this. And they almost say, look, come on, I'll show you how to do it. But what I find is while they can be successful, and unfortunately, I also find them to be the smaller group, is not always can they teach the team, because they quite often say, look, this is how I do it. And I go, well, look, that's great for you, but what about this girl over here who has a different communication style to you? You know, you're very visual in the way that you communicate, you're bubbly, you're quick talking. But over here, we've got a young lady who's quite kinesthetic, and she's about how things feel for people and how things feel for her and how comfortable it is for her to recommend. Well, we need to develop two different skill sets. The thing I find most, though, is most therapists and also hairdressers find that these 5 words are just a myriad of challenges. They feel overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. And what I find is when they learn how to start, this area of anxiety within their day-to-day business truly, truly changes. So I'm going to take you through some skill sets that will help you and your team in this space. The thing that we all need to understand is today, well, especially the younger clients, well, actually anybody, we've all had really bad sales experiences. We feel like they're pushy, it's pressure. Most people say to me when they have a bad sales experience or tell me a story about it, it's normally the person doing the selling is just non-stop talking. You know, non-stop talking and feeling that they can talk someone into it. And again, it's a skill that and a behavior I see a lot in our industry where we feel we need to tell everybody everything, where really we don't. Not everybody needs to know everything to buy. All they need to know is about 4 things that's relevant to them. That's it. That's it. It's that simple. And I'm going to give you a few clues on that tonight. See, most of us come into the industry and really feel very uncomfortable when the manager or the owner or you turn to your staff and need to start to talk about, well, we need to start selling more. See, what we know is this is the quickest way to grow your business is to increase your average client docket. It's just that simple. It doesn't need any money advertising. It doesn't need any new client drives. It doesn't need social media activity. You already have those people in your business. We just need to communicate with them differently. And there's an extra 20 to 30% of income sitting there waiting for you. And by the way, that will go straight to the profit line because there is no other expenses in there. Most staff tell me straight up that as soon as we start to go down this road, they close down. Owners tell me that they struggle with their staff because, you know, they just fear rejection and they really struggle with the pain associated with no. I mean, I've even been in businesses where I've seen a young girl recommend to a client first thing on a Thursday morning. She's doing a 12-hour shift or a long day. And I've been sitting in the staff room and she comes out and goes, oh, that's it. I'm not recommending to anyone for the rest of the day because for whatever reason, she didn't know how to handle that simple 2-letter word, no. And that is one piece of gold I'm going to give you tonight. I want to show you how to do that. It will change your world, or more importantly, it will change the world of your team and their staff. Really powerful. The other thing that happens is we get caught up with numbers. And especially when we're talking about numbers all day to our team, you know, they spend the day not necessarily thinking about clients, but they're thinking about figures or they're thinking about targets. And whether you're in the hairdressing industry or in the beauty industry, the same process happens. We do our best work when we work with our clients, not when our head's buzzing with, you know, the targets and the numbers we need to achieve. And the way to progress past that is to learn a new skill. And that skill, as I've alluded to tonight, is the skill of Spendsuasion. It's fluid, it's easy, and it's smooth. What we're going to cover tonight is 3 simple secrets to help you dramatically increase your in-salon treatments, add-on services, and more importantly, retail without having to sell, push, or feel uncomfortable. If anything, you'll feel like you're just having a conversation like I am with you now. That's about as difficult as it's going to get. And it works. And it works really, really well. So I base a lot of my work on the successes that I see within the industry. Success leaves clues is a very famous statement that was made by Anthony Robbins, a great motivational speaker many years ago. And what he means by that is success leaves clues is that when someone is successful, look at what it is, what their behaviors are, what style of communication they're doing, or what is it they're doing right. That's where the gold lies. And that's what I focus on. And that's what I look for when I go out in field, talking to salon owners, clinic owners, and working with their teams, because it's all about the success. And that's what it's really important. My experience, I grew up many years ago as a salesperson, working for a variety of different hair care companies. Mum was a hairdresser, and I started out as a very, very young product representative, working for a hairdressing company, and the rest is history. But when I worked with that company, I was taught something really important from their point of view, that is the company's point of view. And what I was taught was, when you go in and talk with a client, what you've got to teach them is product knowledge. And back in those days, and I do apologize, I'm showing my age, but we used to have to talk about pH. We even started talking about ingredients and you know, but what did that really do? All they are is their features, their facts, they're things that are not necessarily persuasive. And what I started to discover is that the majority of my clients actually wanted something else. And what they wanted was, while they felt that product knowledge was important, what was more important for them back then was they wanted me to help them understand how they could introduce the product to a client. You know, sell is that terrible label, that 4-letter word we put on it. But that's what my clients wanted. And I have to be really honest with you, I had tremendous success back in those days. And I'm talking, you know, I was a 19-year-old Weller rep, 21-year-old state manager of Queensland, and a 22-year-old state manager of New South Wales. I mean, I had tremendous success rapidly, really quickly, at a very young age, all because Mum had taught me that it's about the way you talk about things. It's not what's in the bottle. It's what the bottle does and what the bottle does for the client. And that piece of gold that Mum shared with me was what has formed the whole foundation of my journey throughout this industry. And the success that it has brought has been truly incredible. And more importantly, the success for others that it's brought has also been incredibly satisfying and really exciting to share. It just made a huge difference. I had young girls coming up to me saying, thank you. I made a huge commission check this week, you know, and all of the stories that came along with that, from the new lounge to some, you know, new treatments they wanted done, whether it be today, you know, teeth whitening, all sorts of absolutely exciting and incredible things transpired as a result of me simply helping hairdressers and therapists become more persuasive. And that's been a real buzz along the way. So let's start looking forward. I think it's fair to say that for most of us in the last couple of years, especially probably the last 5, we've really noticed that, you know, clients have really changed. They're more educated than ever. Quite often they come into the business, you know, looking at ingredients and understanding ingredients already on their phone. They've decided what they like, what they don't like, what ingredients and what the ones they want to avoid. It's really become quite a minefield, where years ago, they came to us because we were the experts. Today, they come to us because we're still the experts, but their knowledge is dramatically increased. And for a lot, this can create some truly awkward challenges. We need to behave differently if we're going to cater for this modern client. I have a young family, and when I say young, they're in high teens and early 20s, and excuse my language, but you know, they joke about having a bullshit monitor on their forehead. You know, they grew up being exposed to marketing, advertising, and promotion right from the youngest of ages. So they see through this selling stuff very freely and very regularly. And as I said, my son jokes about the bullshit monitor, you know, and openly sits there in judgment about how people try to push. So I think we need to really acknowledge that our client's changing, and therefore we need to change. And I don't mean change for change's sake, but we need to be progressive. That is my goal, is to help you be progressive with what's going on around you in the business world. See, to sell for me is very old-fashioned. The key behavior of selling is to tell. And tell with most people creates pressure. Tell with most people, especially when we ask young therapists and young hairdressers to tell, what we find is they get into this monologue and they just keep on going. There is no interaction. There's no reaction. The client's eyes glaze over. They go, oh, here we go again. She's off on a little spiel. And we really don't build trust. We really don't build respect. And more importantly, we rarely listen to the client. Where if we look at persuasion, which is a far more contemporary skill, it is all about the ask. And this is the really big difference that we need to master. Ask and listen is where the money lies. Ask and listen is where you will totally change the way clients react to you. And especially when I teach you the correct questions to ask. Because by the way, there is a group of what we call power questions, and not power to push or manipulate, but power because they open up really great conversations. Power questions are questions that get your clients to open up and really start to talk to you about their thoughts and what they really feel that they want, not just what they need. And that is a massive difference. And by the way, that's where that 20 to 30% increase in your average client docket lies. I mean, if you haven't already, do a couple of sums. If you could increase your average client transaction, what sort of effect would that have on your numbers that you used to work on? I'm just giving that to you as a yardstick. You know your numbers. Wow, that's a big difference. So let's jump in and talk to you about and share with you some gold. Secret number one is how to improve your persuasion skills by 52% right from the get-go. Now, had some really fantastic results in this one space. You know, Carolyn used to say she used to talk too much. How can I change that? Well, this was a very simple technique. Big one that comes through a lot from the younger girls in particular, that they prejudge too much. And again, when we need to look for ways to actually shift people and reframe, that is the goal here. And Janine, I want to understand my clients better. And how do I do that in a shorter amount of time was always a question. These were questions that a lot of the girls used to ask me all the time, especially that last one when they were working in a high pressure environment of laser clinics where they were doing, you know, sometimes 15 or 20-minute treatments. So it's no different than, you know, simply stopping and thinking rather than jumping in. So let me share with you, this is based on very solid research, and it's been researched quite a number of ways. But your goal and what you need to do to achieve this is you need to what we call reframe. Now, part of my formal training is NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which is a communication art and many other things that are helpful in the coaching world. But what we talk about is we talk about reframing someone. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's be frank. Some clients arrive to your business in less than a better frame. They might have had an argument with someone in the car park. They might have got off the telephone and with an unpleasant conversation. They may have arrived early and decided to go to the dress shop next door and had a, well, maybe not so a pleasant experience with the young girl recommending that, you know, ABC dresses or trying to sell them. Whatever it is, we need to acknowledge that clients arrive in not an ideal frame of mind. And our goal is to reframe them. And if we can reframe them within the first 5, 10, 15 seconds, that's right, within the 5, 10 or 15 seconds of meeting and greeting this client, it's been proven that 52% more success will occur with your persuasion skills and what you recommend to the client within your consultation, be it that either in the treatment room or in the styling chair. 52%. Now, by the way, I've also tested that with large clinics, and it works really, really well. So how can we do that professionally? Because it's not trickery. It's simply getting to understand how the human brain works, and through neuro-linguistic programming, the question that we need to ask to reframe. And we have to hunt for 3 things in particular. So we need to ask 3 questions, and we need to ask those questions, and we need to hunt for a yes. So what 3 questions would you ask, or could you ask, to get 3 yeses right from the get-go? So let's paint a picture. Let's think about your business, be it a clinic, be it a salon, be it whatever. And here you are coming out to greet your next client, and she's sitting in the waiting room. What 3 questions could you ask to get 3 yeses? Because what we know is if you can get 3 yeses, by the time the client moves to the styling chair, or by the time the client moves into the treatment room, they have been slightly reframed, and they're more open to accepting your recommendations. 3 questions. You'll die when you find out what they are, because it's just so simple. And it goes like this. Hi, Jenny, is it? You here for your 10 o'clock? Would you like to come through? What is Jenny going to say to those 3 questions? Hi, Jenny, is it? Yep. You here for your 10 o'clock? Yep. Would you like to come through? Yes. Now, it is that simple. And when we work face-to-face with teams, we workshop this a little bit, because sometimes we need to switch that around because there's a receptionist involved. And it's not the receptionist's job, by the way, to ask these questions. It is the hairdresser or the therapist that's going to engage with the client. That is where the trust and the reframing needs to occur. It is so simple. It changes a client's negative frame to a positive frame. 3 yeses we know is enough to shift a client to a more open and more positive frame. It's so simple, and it works incredibly well. Please try it, but make a note of it. And it's something that we can talk with you about further, but it is just the blinding flash of the obvious. It's something so simple, and the results are amazing. No longer does a client start to challenge a younger staff member. They seem to be more open. They're more receptive. All of the teams that we train say that this has quite a profound effect. So reframing is a key, and we need to practice, and you need to practice with your teams how you can reframe by hunting for 3 short questions that get a yes. It's just that simple, and it works incredibly well. So some of the results we've had from that, Sabrina has said that she feels more comfortable and confident when she talks with clients, because they don't seem to be as aggressive. Sometimes, especially around busy times, you can get in some suburban areas, quite aggressive clients. Stephanie said that she felt a lot more confident because clients were listening to her, and she was noticing, and as we noticed with our measurements as well, that her skin sales were significantly improving. Talia, clients are trusting me more and accepting my recommendations, and I'm about to share with you why. Marley, by asking better questions, it's easier to gauge what the client is looking for. See, the goal today is to build these power questions. I just can't tell you how incredible it is when we workshop that for you. It really makes a massive difference. And Renee, I found that asking clients more questions and really stopping and listening to them and being more genuinely interested has really helped and has increased sales. These are clear markers that occur repetitively, time after time, once the teams work through our programs. So success secret number 2, how to help your client identify what they need, not just what they want. Most clients, especially in clinic world, come in telling you what they want. I want you know, some Botox here, or I want my half leg done, or I want my underarms. And the word want seems to come out quite a lot. What you need and what you've discovered is what you do is you step back and have a look at the client, and very quickly you start to realize that they need a lot more than what they want. So how do we do that? And there's a really simple skill that we teach in this space, because, you know, moving people across different treatment categories can be really quite challenging. So there are two very simple steps. Firstly is we need to ask open-ended questions. The amount of time that I've monitored and listened to people doing consultations, and the amount of closed questions they ask. Closed questions is when you get a yes or a no, which is what we were shooting for in the last example. But open-ended questions is how we gather information. Who, what, when, how are my favorite questions. And what I find is when we build our power questions around that formula and share them with the team relevant to your treatments and your business, it really, really is quite a successful transition, because a lot of the girls just haven't been taught the right questions to ask. What they do is they get taught product knowledge and they get taught what the results are, but they never get taught this third skill, the third skill of communication, the third skill of persuasion. And then here's the big one. Wow, we need to listen with the intent to understand. My observations is most people in our world, therapists, hairdressers alike, listen with the intent to interrupt. That's right. They don't really listen to what a client's saying. What they do, and I'm sure some of you experience this as well, that you're actually listening to a client, but what you're really doing is you're not really listening. You're too busy thinking what you're going to say next, or what treatment or product you're going to recommend based on, you know, there's a little gap, and you jump in and you interrupt what the client's saying. Well, what we know through our research is that the quickest way to build trust with a client is to listen to them. That's right. The quickest way to build trust with a client is to listen to them and truly get to understand what it is they're trying to say, because this is where the gold lies. There are so many opportunities missed because we interrupt a client just when she's about to say, well, actually, I've been considering, or I spoke to a girlfriend and said, we are too quick to jump in with our solution. See, to know the answer to the question is clever, but to know the right question to ask is genius. It really is powerful. So we need to spend a bit of time in this space, and it's an important space as well. But just think for the moment, how often do you really listen with the intent to interrupt? I have to say to you a lot. So if we can help this and help our staff ask good questions and then listen, and not just jump on the first thing the client says, which is again another behavior I see within experienced therapists and hairdressers alike. We seem to just jump on the first thing the client says, when my belief is that, well, we need to ask at least 3 questions about whatever it is the client puts forward. And my favorite is, well, Jenny, can you tell me a little bit more about that? What effect does that have? How have you noticed that? What way does it present itself to you? Whatever those questions may be, but they're open-ended questions. You know, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Is my favorite. I want to understand that from your perspective. Can you share a little bit more with me? How does that affect you? And see, when we pause and listen truly with the intent to understand, the client will just tell us gold, absolute gold. Sometimes we're just too quick to jump in and interrupt. So that's the real big money pot, and it's a big one there, really big one. The next one, and the one that most, I'd have to say this is probably rates the biggest, and that is how we help people to, we'll get to yes, because there's a very simple 2-letter word that scares most inexperienced team members, and even some of us who are vastly experienced. and that is the word no. So when someone says no, what does that really mean? Well, it doesn't always mean no, because sometimes we jump in all too quickly, apologetically, and go, oh, well, look, that's okay. We've got this product here. If you want to, I can write it down for you. And we almost start to apologize for what we've just suggested, all because the client has just said no. So what sort of message does that send to your client when you've just made a very heartfelt and genuine recommendation, but then in the next breath, you're retreating from it and apologizing? So it sends a very confusing message. So we like to unpack this and start to think about this as different. Because for me, no is not no. No is not rejection. No is simply, well, just not now. And when we ask into that question, we hear some amazing answers. The client shares with us, well, actually, it's not my pay week this week, or, you know, can I organize it another time? Or, look, I'm thinking I've got a wedding coming up. I want to, I mean, no is not no. We need to work out a way to explore no. Now, most of us find it really hard to work our way around this one. But with some training, this can truly change, because no is just not no. There is a set of words that I want you to learn to say from now on every time you hear no, whether it be work or anywhere else for that matter. And the words are, that's not a problem. By the way, it's all 4 words, not no probs. No, that's not a problem. Now, this is what we call a diffusing statement. Because by the way, have you noticed when a client in a normal environment gets to this particular stage and they go, oh, you know, I'm going to say no, and they almost get a bit of defensiveness, or they get shy, or, you know, some of their body language will change, because guess what? They have experienced awkwardness in other situations when they say no to someone. Maybe that young girl in the dress shop that they experienced prior to coming into your clinic or your business. So, you know, we need to be careful about this, because what tends to happen is the client, by the way, is not only experiencing some pressure, she also does something else. She can see in you your physiology changing, because you also are feeling uncomfortable about this closing the sale, or getting a no, or whatever it is. Reaching agreement for me is as simple as it gets. But there is just so much baggage that we bring to this part, and it's quite often the most uncomfortable part of any recommendation, consultation, or interaction with a client. Now, what I've discovered, and through this process of using this diffusing statement, something truly amazing happens. So, because by the way, you know, no is another way for a client also to try to just push back because they're feeling a little bit uncomfortable, and they say no to your behavior, not necessarily to the offer. So again, this diffusing statement works incredibly well. And we simply say, that's not a problem. And we say so in a downward tone. That's not a problem. We look the client in the eye and we simply say, that's not a problem. Now, by the way, we do that anytime we receive any sort of rebuttal in any form, be it minor, major, on the telephone, anywhere from today forward. Whenever you hear the word no, or I think I'll leave it, or whatever it is, we simply say, that's not a problem. Now, what you'll experience is when you're face to face with a client and actually go through this process, is you will notice the client change. They'll go, oh, okay. Oh, and their shoulders will drop. You'll hear, oh, a lot. You'll hear, okay. And then something else will happen, which is where the magic lies. Because you've diffused, you can now say, look, that's not a problem, but could I suggest maybe that we think about A, B, or C? You can put forward another recommendation immediately after you've diffused. If you don't diffuse and you get a no and then come back and go, oh, what about, they just start to go, whoa, 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 because all they feel is pressure. When we use a diffusing statement, it totally nullifies everything and takes everyone back to the beginning. It is incredible. And I've had lots of girls in particular who are really shy around asking clients to purchase or to buy. And when we've taught them this along with a couple of other alternatives, it has totally changed their world. All of the anxiety disappears. They feel super comfortable about how to navigate this part of the awkwardness, and they really start to enjoy their job. And we also notice that the energy within the business starts to change, and there's a lot more laughter and happiness going on because people are not weighed down by the pressure and the push that they felt they had to do, but they've simply now learnt a way to do it. It's really powerful and probably the most exciting part of what we do, and definitely the most enjoyable when I get an email or a phone call from someone to say thanks, that it's really changed their world. It's a real buzz. So 3 secrets for you, but let's draw a line in the sand. And I suppose in hindsight, being a webinar, I really don't know why you showed up today or what was it about our webinar that was of interest to you. But what I can say to you is that generally, I tend to find that it could be you're frustrated with offering a good level of service and clients not buying, or you'd like to improve that pain around getting to yes, or more importantly, you've identified some staff who need to upskill because this has been a challenge for them. The 3 secrets was the reframing, how to ask the open-ended questions, and more importantly, and the big, big, powerful one, and even today, in today's environment, on the telephone, when you're talking to a client or even in an email, if they push back, I simply say, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. Please learn those words. It will change your world. So where to from here? I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't think about ways that I could actually take you on this journey. So we do have a couple of options for you to consider. So the critical thing is the practice. We know that constant practice changes habits. And I don't know about you, but when I watch my son riding his skateboard, he never stopped when he didn't pull off a trick. He just kept on picking up the board and having another go, having another go, having another go. And that's what we do in our coaching. We actually support teams through that practice. And it goes a little bit like this. Very simple solution. It's not right for everyone though, I must admit, but most find it very helpful. See, I want to put back to salon owners and their teams, and I want to help them achieve some growth, and in particular at the moment, some personal growth, because that's what's going to really yield a high level of confidence for us all as we move forward. So SPEND-SUASION is our program. The results have been truly strong, 25 to 50% in the upgrade. We don't call it the upsell anymore. 10 to 20% in using what we call segues, ways to change the subject and introduce new treatments. And more importantly, 50% growth is quite common with staff members when they learn how to accelerate their clients' results at home. And this is truly powerful. These are just shifts in languages, and we've done lots of work with groups, and at the bottom of the screen there you can see one particular result we achieved with one particular laser group. So it is a program that's designed for you. It's designed to make this part of your role and your team's role, more importantly, simple, easy, confident, and I'd have to say fun, because we take all the stress out of this part of the conversation. We take all the stress out of that third skill, which is what we need to focus on. So how does the program work? Well, it's a 4-week program that is available should you wish to go down this road. Week 1 is we dive into the SPEND-SUASION model and we unpack that. Week 2, we identify the opportunities in the client comfort curve. Your client goes through a different stage of comfort and discomfort within your or in their client visit. And, it's really powerful to get to understand that. Then I jump in and do a live Q&A call where everyone can jump online as a bonus and ask as many questions as they like about some of the challenges and some of the successes they've been having. And I will work with them and help them through that session to rephrase, reframe, or even just reword what they're doing. And sometimes you'll be amazed at how subtle the change needs to be. Teach you how to get to yes, ever so simply, and more importantly, how to handle objections, because no is not really no. And, you know, maybe for me is code for you're pushing too much. I want to back out. Maybe is truly no in disguise. It's not a yes. I see lots of staff get excited when a client says maybe. For me, maybe is no in disguise, and we can talk about that again. The program is delivered via Zoom, my favorite medium. Sorry, it's going to be a Wednesday night. My apologies, not a Tuesday night. A Wednesday night from 7 o'clock until 8 for 4 weeks. The course starts on Wednesday night, May 20, which is Wednesday of week after next, I think. Yep. And more importantly, finishes on June 10th. So 4-week course. Excuse me. As everyone's in a crazy time at the moment, that 4-week course per clinic or per salon is normally $850, but we're doing May Madness at the moment, and it's half price, $425 to jump in. Now, by the way, that is per clinic or per salon, so you can actually share that invitation with your team and get them involved so that they can be a part of this program for you. That special price is available until Friday. This is Friday of this week. And if you do jump in this week, we will happily engage you and share with you some pre-work to make sure that you're truly going to get the most out of this business and out of this opportunity. So if you have some questions, I'm very happy to answer them through the chat. If you wanted to type into the chat box, if there are any questions that you would like to ask, or you can do it as Q&A, but I think just the chat would be just as easy, which might be for some of you under the More button. But in summary, while you're thinking about any questions you may wish to ask, in summary, it's a 4-week program, 4 60-minute interactive trainings, access to course recordings for you and your team to review, to discuss and to practice, some Q&A calls to help you fine-tune some of the smaller skills. You receive also a workbook. Full-on revision and practice is offered as part of the program. And please, there is no judgment. There is just simply an opportunity to learn and to grow. Our special price includes GST and is available up until Friday, May 8th.